Hello, beautiful homemakers. I'm back with Laine's letters on how to get out of debt and pay off your house. Tip number 11. An emergency savings is good to have in your house for emergencies. This also should not be touched unless you have to use it. I learned this from a book about the Depression. It's so good to have on hand. And I agree, I keep approximately $100 in $1 and $5 bill amounts hidden away where it's very difficult to get to. I rarely remember that I even have it, but every once in a while you need cash, and then I think, oh, the hidden emergency stash. And then an emergency savings is good to have maybe in an online bank away from your everyday bank. One that's much harder to get to and would take like 3 days to get into your account instead of instantaneous transfer. Number 12. I read Christian finance books frequently. She would read Larry Burkett, Ron Blue, Mary Hunt, The Tightwad Gazette, and Miserly Moms by Joni McCoy. I read all of those too, but I also really liked Automatic Millionaire by David Bach. And in my book, I list all of the financial books that helped me get out of debt. I also really liked Your Money or Your Life. Another thing I have done ever since my son was in 3rd grade, we have studied so many financial books over the years because you need the encouragement to keep on making good choices. Number 13. We don't have any cable, so we don't get much reception. But I figure we have saved approximately $6,000 in the past 17 years living without cable. And I'm sure it's a lot more than that these days. And we are the same way. We have never paid for cable. Especially now with YouTube, you do not need to be paying for anything from Hollywood when people have such good channels for free. Number 14. We also do not have internet access. Whenever we need to use the internet, I use it at the library for free. I don't know if that's still the case with her, probably not. And I don't think many of us would be able to adhere to this tip. Not today. We're too reliant on it. Number 15. I try to keep us as healthy as possible by good food with quality ingredients. She is like the merchant ships. She brings her food from afar. Proverbs 31. I study health, nutrition, and herbs as much as I do stretching our finances. It has saved our teeth since we don't have dental insurance. I am amazed at a woman's saving power in the home. It's such a blessing. Time is money. What we do with our time results in how our money is spent, one way or another. I keep studying Proverbs 31 and praying through the verses to learn to practice all that God would have me to practice in keeping this home. I recognize that in my homekeeping, spiritual, emotional, and physical health is going on. It's all so invaluable that you can't put a price tag on it. One thing we need to eliminate is anything pre-made, like pre-chopped onions that you keep in your freezer. Just chop the onion yourself and you'll save money. Anything pre-made, pre-sliced olives. You're going to get twice as much olives if you buy the can and chop it yourself. We have to get out of the habit of having every little thing done for us if you want to save money in the home. I also feel like I have saved us so many doctor bills because I use the herbs and supplements. Just this past week, I found a supplement for a skin problem that I read about in a magazine that my mother-in-law gave me, and it was the answer to a prayer. Because what the doctor recommended, one of the side effects might be cancer. I like my supplement much better. Number 16. It's so true that if you waste not, you want not. I'm always looking for ways to stretch something a little farther. Benjamin Franklin said, "Better to go to bed supperless than to rise in debt." So true. I went around my house and said, how can I stretch this meal? How can I stretch my dollar? What can I cut in half, like bath mats? When I use paper towels, I don't just tear off the paper towel. Each little slice of a paper towel gets torn often into 4 pieces. If I only need a little bit, I only use a little bit. I don't waste. I don't use toilet paper to mop up water in the bathroom. I use a wash rag. Little things like that. I'm very conscious that everything in our home is bought with money, so we need to be careful with what we buy. Number 17. I've learned to be very thankful and content. They're both infectious, you know. Hebrews 13:5 says, "Be content with such things as you have." And one of my favorite Benjamin Franklin quotes is, "Content makes poor people rich. Discontent makes rich people poor." Back to Laine. I lived for 3 months when I was 17 in a Muslim household in Tunisia, North Africa, without a place to bathe in the house, without a washer and dryer, without a car, without a refrigerator, without a phone, without screens on the windows, flies were everywhere, without a flushing toilet or toilet paper, without a dishwasher or even a nice sink. The cooking was done on a little hot plate. The weather was hot, hot, hot. The milk came in a horse-drawn cart with flies all around it. If we needed some tomato paste, we bought it in tablespoon increments. Nothing was wasted because money was scarce. In America, we would consider this family so very poor, but in their country, they were middle class. I think about my living conditions there a lot, especially when I am taking a nice hot bath. I have so much to be thankful for, so much to be content about. It was the hardest summer of my life, but it was one summer that I learned the most, which has served me well in marriage. My husband says I'm one of the most contented women he knows. I only have to think of my stay in Tunisia and I am totally content. Let your manner of life be without covetousness, and be content with such things as you have, for he has said, "I will never leave you nor forsake you," so that we may boldly say, "The Lord is my helper, and I will not fear what man shall do to me." Number 18. I often tell my kids, it's not the amount of money that comes in, rather how it goes out that counts. So many people think that if they have more money, they would be better off. When good things increase, those who consume them increase. So what is the advantage to their owners except to look on? That was Ecclesiastes 5:11. Rather, godliness with contentment is great gain. 1 Timothy 6:6. I have lived in this house with holes in my flooring, carpeting that's ripping up or has holes in it, sinks that are in rough shape, a tub with slight cracks in it, windows that are foggy because the panes are permanently damaged, the same couches for 16 years, and they were used when we bought them, and numerous other things. Our house is hot, hot in the summer and cold, cold in the winter due to poor insulation. But I've learned to live with all of it and to be so thankful. I keep 2 rooms warm in the winter with a kerosene heater and a fireplace. A curtain keeps the heat in our kitchen in the winter. It's my winter look. The fireplace keeps the living room warm. It's so cozy in there. I can keep the house cool in the summer by running our whole house fan early in the morning with all the windows open, then shutting everything up and draping cooling shades over the main windows. The fans do the rest. It's amazing how you learn to work with an old house over the years. I really enjoy fixing this home up. I love my flooring, holes and all. I have throw rugs all over my ripped up carpet, and I paint, patch, and design the rest with quilts, teacups, and teapots, family photos that I took, antiques bought at the thrift shop, doilies, lots of lace, beautiful smelling candles, a fire going in the fireplace, and keeping my home clean and fresh smelling. It doesn't cost a lot to do that. I try to take the load off my husband by making his home as welcoming and comforting as I can on a dime. We sleep 7.5 to 8 hours a night, so I try to have all of our beds nice and cozy. Likewise, we eat 3 times a day, so this is another area that I try to spend our money wisely. It is for health, comfort, and economy. Not easy, but the Lord shows me the way. I love learning from Him. It's really the simple things that bring so much pleasure. And as usual, I agree with everything Laine has said. My home was built in the 1940s, and I have many of the same problems she has. Like her, I've come up with creative solutions for them. My house does not look like the homes pictured on HGTV, but it has a lot of character, and it's very cozy and homey. Number 19. My husband and I have an allowance each week. Whenever I work on someone's budget, I always give the husband and wife a personal weekly allowance. I think it is the oil that keeps the marriage wheels running smoothly. For most of my married life, I always did a monthly budget. My spending money for the entire month was $20. My husband had a little bit more than that. But then if I really needed something, I could dip into the gift money, the money needed for postage, the grocery money. But in my personal spending envelope, $20 a month. Number 20. We saved a lot of money and time by allowing our kids to be involved in mostly music and church. My older son teaches piano, so this has paid many of his bills. His piano lessons were a wonderful investment. We were careful about letting them get too over-involved in anything. It saved our family life and our finances. We still eat together most evenings. Since our income is so tight, we have to pray and carefully consider what we can allow them to do. We don't pay them allowances. Rather, they work for their money. Now, I did pay my son an allowance that gradually increased as he did more work around the home. We never took music lessons, but we also were involved with our church. We did holiday concerts that he was involved in, and we also did not get over involved in anything, especially if it cost money. If it did cost money, a grandparent usually paid for it. This is a little blurb from Lori Alexander. Her blog is called The Transformed Wife. She said, "Many years ago, when I first began reading Laine's letters, I remember her testimony. In her early years of marriage, she was not a good homemaker. She watched a lot of soap operas and was not submissive to her husband. After the birth of one of her children, who was gravely ill, she made a promise to God that she would get up every morning and spend time with him if he would heal her child. The child lived, so she kept her promise and woke up every morning at 4 a.m. and spent time knowing Jesus. It completely changed her life, marriage, and family. She learned about submission, being a keeper at home, loving her husband and children, etc. She stopped watching soap operas and spent her time caring for her family, home and others. And I hope that I can find one of the letters where Laine does talk about exactly what Lori mentioned. I know in video number 1, the introduction about Laine, it touched on that. But there's another letter out there somewhere that goes into more detail. And I remember it having a profound impact on me when I read her testimony as well. We'll begin tip 21 in the next video. Bye!